So, there is a part of the Bible that says the following: when time is almost up for those bad kings, a new king will appear. This king will be very powerful, but not because of his own strength. He will do incredible things, but he will also destroy many things, including important people and even those who are considered sacred. He will be cunning and will use tricks to get what he wants. He will even try to look like he is bringing peace, but in reality he will cause a lot of trouble. In the end, he will even challenge someone very powerful, but he himself will end up being defeated without even needing a direct battle. This text is not only about a specific person back in history called Antiochus, but it also talks about another person who will appear in the future called Antichrist. Antiochus was a king who lived a long time ago, about 200 years before Jesus. He was very cruel to people, especially Jews. He tried to change their religion and culture, forcing them to worship Greek gods and even placing statues of those gods in the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. So, this passage from the Bible is like a prediction that was fulfilled twice. Once in the past with Antiochus and another that will happen in the future with the Antichrist. They have things in common, like being very bad and causing a lot of problems for people, especially for followers of God. Leave your like and subscribe to our channel and stay up to date with all our videos. Let's simplify this all. So, there's a guy in the story called Antiochus who was really annoying. He didn't like the Jews and wanted everyone to worship the Greek gods. Just imagine. He even disrespected the Jews' sacred temple, dirtying the altar with sacrifices to other gods and even placing a statue of Zeus inside. Oh, and he also forced everyone to practice Greek religion and customs, threatening anyone who didn't obey. And the worst thing is that those who didn't agree with him suffered a lot. Many Jews were persecuted, tortured, and even killed just because they did not want to abandon their faith. And if anyone tried to resist or speak against him, they were immediately repressed with military force. But look, it's not just ancient history. This text from the Bible also talks about things that will happen in the future. He gives clues about a very bad person who will appear, the Antichrist. We can see this in other texts of the Bible, such as the Book of Revelation. There it talks about some beasts that represent important figures like the Antichrist and a false prophet. They will be very powerful, but in the end, God will deal with them. Subscribe to our channel and stay up to date with all our videos. Let's break it all down in an easier to understand way. So, in the Bible, there are some texts that talk about a very ugly creature that will appear in the world, and things won't be good when that happens. This creature is called the Beast and will cause a lot of trouble. She's going to be like the villain of the whole story. This beast will be very powerful and many people will even worship it, believing that it is incredible. But the truth is that she will be very bad, disrespecting everything that is sacred and even thinking she is greater than God. It's as if she's going against God's plans for the world. Do you know what is most impressive? This story is not just an isolated thing. It connects with other parts of the Bible, such as the book of Daniel and Revelation. It's as if God is showing us that this message is super important and that we need to stay tuned. Oh, and there's something called the New World Order, which is the idea that one day the entire world will be controlled by a single government. It's kind of scary to think about, right? And although this term does not appear in the Bible, it gives us clues about a time when the Antichrist, this evil figure who will appear, will have total control over everything, even over who can buy and sell. The important thing is to remember that, at the end of the day, even with these scary things happening, God is in control and will work things out. Let's make it all simple. So, imagine that there is a very strange story in the Bible about a very bad person who will appear in the world. This person is called Antichrist. And look, she will want to control everyone, even when it comes to buying and selling. Like, if you don't have a special brand that shows that you're on his side, you won't be able to participate in the economy. It's like a very sinister blackmail. And this mark is not just a physical thing, it is also a symbol that you are following the Antichrist, like a sign that you accept his rules. It's like a scary form of control over people. In the Bible, it also talks about the Antichrist being closely linked to a powerful government that will dominate the entire world. It's like an evil partnership. And did you know that this story is not just about the past? It also gives us clues about the future, about how the world will remain before the end of time. It is very important for us to be aware of these things, to understand what is written in the Bible, so as not to be deceived by these strange challenges that may arise. God is always helping us understand things. Let's simplify this. So imagine that up ahead, some strange things may arise that will affect the whole world. But look, our faith in God and knowledge of these stories in the Bible will help us face these uncertain times well. One of the most serious parts of this whole story is about money. In the Bible, it says that this beast will force everyone, no matter if they are rich or poor, big or small, to put a mark on their forehead or right hand. And anyone who doesn't have this brand won't be able to buy or sell anything. And look how crazy. Even though the Bible doesn't clearly talk about a cashless society, many Bible scholars think that this could happen. It's because nowadays we already use cards and online payments much more than paper money, right? So, if everything becomes electronic, you can control everything very closely. And isn't this already happening? In the past, things like ATMs, debit cards, and digital currencies didn't even exist. But look how quickly things changed. And now, there are even stores where you can go in, get what you want and leave without needing to go to the cashier. All of this is changing the way we shop. Let's make this all easier to understand. Those super modern stores where you go in, take what you want and simply leave without needing to go to the cashier? Well, in them, technology is there in force. Sensors, cameras, and even artificial intelligence help make it all work. When you choose something and put it in the cart, the store system already knows what you picked up right away. And when you decide to leave, your account is automatically charged for what you took. It's like magic, right? No need for a cashier or boring queues. And look, what the Bible says about an evil person wanting to control the world. It seems like it's getting real. Remember that in the Bible, back in the book of Matthew, the devil offered all the kingdoms of the world to Jesus? It's like he wants to own everything. And it's important to understand that in the Bible, the devil is called God of this world, but he is not the true God. This shows how he wants to dominate everything, but in the end, God will win. And there's an interesting thing in the Bible, an angel called Apollonius, who only appears once. This angel shows that even in heaven, there is a battle between good and evil. And that's why we need to stay alert and always on God's side, because he is the one who protects us from these bad things. Let's figure it out. So, in the Bible, there is a part that talks about a very powerful angel, known as the Destroyer. That name isn't for nothing, It reveals a lot about who this angel is and what he does. There in Revelation 9 verse 11, he is described as the king of the abyss, and in Hebrew, he is called Abaddon, and in Greek, Apollonius, which also means the destroyer. You can tell he's not kidding. If we read chapter 9 of Revelation, we can see the damage that he and his army cause. It's enough to leave anyone's mouth open. When the Bible gives a name to someone, it tells you a lot about who they are and what they do. Like, when you call Satan the god of this world, you don't mean it. It shows that he has power here, but it is not the same power that God has. Look, when the devil offered Jesus the kingdoms of this world, he wasn't bluffing, he actually had power over it. But Jesus made it clear that only God deserves to be worshipped. And the danger is that when people worship this beast, they are indirectly worshiping the devil too. He is smart and knows how to deceive people, but in the end, God is the one who has the real power. That's why we always need to stay on God's side and not let ourselves be fooled by these bad things. Let's make this easier to understand. So, in the Bible, there is a part that talks about a very powerful guy called Lucifer or Satan who has influence here in the world. He has the power to place important people in places of great influence. And does he know what's worse? He wants to do this with the Antichrist, giving him power over all the kingdoms of the earth. With so many crazy things happening nowadays, it's super important for us to stay tuned to this talk about Lucifer or Satan. He's too smart and just wants to bring bad things into the world. And look, the Bible gives a lot of hints about how it operates. He is like a master in the art of deception and just wants to destroy everything that is good and right. There is a text in the Bible, in the book of Daniel, that talks about a very tough leader who will appear in the last days. He's going to be really bad and cause a lot of problems, even for people who are considered holy. But in the end, he will be defeated, without even needing a big battle. It's crazy to think that this story has already happened before with a guy called Antiochus way back in history, and that it will happen again with this Antichrist in the future. The two have many things in common, such as being very bad and causing a lot of problems for people. But you don't need to be afraid, because in the end, God is the one who will win. Let's simplify this all. In the Bible, there are a lot of stories about a really bad guy who will appear called Antichrist. He's going to be like a very powerful leader, and he's going to fool a lot of people, even the smartest ones. This text talks about how he will come to power and how dangerous it will be if we let him control things. Just imagine, in that book Revelation, there is a part that talks about two scary creatures, one that comes from the sea and the other that comes from the land. These creatures represent two very evil people, the Antichrist and a false prophet. Together, they form a powerful alliance against God's plans. It's like the evil team, and you know what's worse? These guys will be able to fool a lot of people, even making people worship the Antichrist as if he were a superhero. It's crazy. Therefore, we need to be careful and not let ourselves be fooled by these evil tricks. And look, when the devil tempted Jesus in the desert, offering authority over the kingdoms of the world, it wasn't just idle talk. No, he has real power here on earth, but only because God allows it. This offer was a temptation for Jesus to stray from the right path, but he didn't fall for it. It's a lesson for us too, not to let evil deceive us and always follow God's plans. Let's make this very clear. In the Bible, there are some serious warnings about an Antichrist who will appear. He will be a very powerful leader and will deceive a lot of people, putting them in important places. But look, he's not alone in this. The devil, who is like the boss of the villains, will give him power. And of course, this will only bring confusion and problems around the world. These days, it seems like it's difficult to distinguish what's right from what's wrong, right? That's where we need the Bible's help. She shows us the right path and helps us not to fall into the traps of evil. It's important for us to be smart, because the devil uses everything to deceive us, even making wrong seem right and right seem wrong. But as followers of God, our faith and trust in him must be unshakable. And knowing these stories that the Bible tells us will guide us in these uncertain times. As much as the subject of such a new world order is a bit confusing, the Bible's prophecies are very clear. There will be a time of much tribulation and deception. But our hope is not in this world. No, she is at the triumphal return of Jesus, who will put an end to all evil once and for all. So, let's stay firm in faith and always trust that God will take care of everything in the end.